Hello, this is my lightsaber. This is all handmade, it's all just scratch built, but I'm really happy with it. It's filled with flaws, which I'm sure I will point out in depth in this video, but I still really love this saber. I'm really happy that I made it. I don't have a good name for it, so I'm just not naming it. I've called it all sorts of things like Maven and Sugar and my baby, but none of them are its name, just nicknames. But I made this all by hand. I made a couple MHS sabers. I think this is my 7th saber, something along those lines. But I've made a few sabers, mostly MHS, and I got a hold of a Vaders Vault saber and immediately knew that I couldn't go back to like MHS. They're so comfortable and so amazing. They're so immaculately machined. I'm incredibly jealous of just the skill and quality that goes into those sabers, so I tried to imitate it in the best way that I can. But this is all hand machined. It's all scratch built. There's no CNC machine parts on here except for like the screws and the cover tech knob. It was all just done by me on my mini lathe, my little Grizzly, and just out of raw 1.5-inch stock from Cobra Metals. So it was all 1.5-inch stock with a 1-inch inner diameter. It's running all the way through. It was super cheap. And I got that, and then some for the sleeve. It's 1.75 with a 1.25 inch. Sorry, 1 3/8 by 1.25 inch for the internal diameter. So I just bought some tubing and machined it out by hand, painstakingly. The 1.5-inch tube, the 1.5-inch tube. It's like 1.25 inches for the main body, so it just took me hours. It was an insanely long amount of time to do on a manual lathe, but it was worth it. I'm doing my wife's second saber in the same fashion because it's a lot of fun. But God, it makes so much extra just worthless aluminum that I can smelt down into something useful. But so anyway, I machined it all out on my lathe, and I did just the really crappy like black acrylic spray paint and acetone, just wipe it, like straight out of like the custom saber shop weathering tutorial, the first one. It's just so cheeky and I love it. But it's just kind of V2 weathering because I always really liked that really lived-in aesthetic. And the machining lines are all like super chattery, so it gets in the grooves, and I don't know. It looks crappy, but I like it. I like weathered sabers. But anyway, so I milled this. I did all of this by hand with my Dremel, and you can see all the little nicks and stuff. Again, it looks so terrible, but I love it. Anyway, so copper cover tech, which gives a little bit of extra weight on the back, which is fantastic. This is just copper sheet that has been cut to cover up the switches. I'm gonna have to replace that eventually and make something bigger, broader, or whatnot, but I like it for now. And then of course TCSS, big old black anodized knob, which is a 832 screw, which is my kill switch. And then I machined a little choke in here on the 1.5-inch tube. I made a clan style emitter because this is my favorite. Like the Adigalia style emitter is my absolute favorite from Clone Wars, Phantom Menace, prequel era sabers. So I had to have it. I love the clan sabers. I just want to throw that out there. They're a huge inspiration for this hill, just the kind of standard issue. I know a lot of people bash on the prequels, myself included, but the costumes, the lightsabers, the music, all just solid. So still very much enjoyable, and I don't care who knows it. If you're into props and weapons like I am, then you can appreciate them. But anyway, so clan style emitter, my little, God, what do they refer to it in Rebels? It's like a blade adjustment knob, like the knob up at the top. But of course, it's my blade retention screw. That's just the head canon reason for why this little knob is here. But it's a little copper 832 screw used for tattoo guns. 832 is a little tiny, I think, for holding in the blade on this. I think I might upgrade it to a 1032 like Vaders Vault does. I think it actually does help. But I really like this copper cap, so I kind of want to keep it. But anyway, I'll figure out. Maybe I'll just have to get a tap and die set to make one of my own out of copper. Like a pain in the ass. I hate machining copper. It just turns to like putty. But anyway, learning machining has been fun, as evidenced by this hilt. But I hate trying to turn stuff or mill stuff out of copper. This is just copper sheet that I cut with some, just like some wire cutters, tin snips. Cut them with tin snips. So it's all warped, and I had to like hammer it down on my workbench because it got all warped. And but anyway, I got it in there. This covers both my main activation and my aux switch, which are hidden under this copper plate, which I'm actually pretty happy with how that turned out. I decided halfway through this build, I was going to put a big AV switch right here, a little 12mm, up on a copper bezel, but they take up so much room, and I don't. When you decide that you're going to have a hilt of this profile, you have to make that sacrifice. You can't have these huge electronics in here, because it's just not very efficient to take apart and reassemble if there's a problem or if you decide that you want to upgrade it. So everything, I tried to keep all of the electronics as discreet and as compact as I possibly could, just because I have to take them out. And it was also, it provided a lot of advantages, like, you know, being able to swap out the batteries, because you're using a removable cell solution and using a soundboard that can run off of a single battery and a small speaker. But what I ended up doing was making a solid Delrin chassis, again inspired by Vaders Vault, that runs the entire length of the saber. So the LED emitter is right about here, and then you've got a kill switch, momentary kill switch underneath here, which you turn this in to activate the saber. The aux switch and the activation switch just lined up in a neat little row into a machined Delrin sled. So it's like, it's all Delrin, and then there's the little LED. I'm just going to take my saber apart and show you. So so screw comes out. Use a hex wrench to take off the Covertech when you're not clumsy. Pommel comes off. This is just, it's not threaded on. I'm not gonna bother learning how to machine threads. It's a pain in the ass from what I've been told, and it requires essentially switching out all of the gears by hand on my little manual lathe, and then putting the other ones back when I'm done. It's just, I don't have that much time in the garage, so I'm not gonna learn it. So I machined this pommel, this from 3/4 of an inch inner diameter stock. It's like 1.5 inches on the outside. Turn it down, turn it down, turn it down. It takes forever because there's so much material there. And then just machined a small little slit here and dropped an O-ring in it. And then that provides just kind of press fit retention. It's like a cookie jar. It can be really, really difficult to remove. Once it's actually in there, seated really well, it's damn near unpoppable. But anyway, so pommel comes off, sleeve comes off. Nice look at the V2 style weathering. It's just spray paint and acetone, and my hand naturally wearing the stuff down. Got a blade retention, LED retention screw right here. This actually drills into the chassis and keeps everything from wobbling around. So we want to get everything out. It's got to come out too. Don't have to unscrew it all the way, because then you could lose it and that would be bad. The switch plate. Ta-da! Ugly switch plate, but it works. It's just the copper. It's glued, super glued onto some EVA foam, which has been apparently warped over time because I'm right-handed and that's where my fingers rest. But I got tons of EVA foam, so it's not that big a deal. And then my power on and my auxiliary switch, and then the really ugly cutout that I did on my father-in-law's mill. So, nice little feature. And then, of course, the main power button is right there, which goes underneath the 832 screw. So, when the screw is not in, everything's asleep. So, the tension screw comes out. Obviously, my speaker's right there. There's nothing. I need to come up with some sort of grill or pommel cap or something for this, because there's nothing protecting this speaker, and you don't really want to poke at it like I just did, like an idiot. See, in order to get the chassis out, I use my blade. So I'll take the blade and just gently push the electronics out. It'd be nice if there was a way to get to the electronics without having to use a blade, but it's not like I'm ever going to be anywhere where I won't have my blade, and why would you carry your lightsaber around without it? So, anyway, here's the electronics. Again, obviously Vaders Vault inspired. Just obviously far less quality. But anyway, so it's all Delrin. This is 1-inch Delrin rod, which I turned down a little bit on the lathe, and it was super chattery, and I didn't use my steady rest because I didn't really know how to set it up at the time. I was just goofing off, but and then I Dremeled out some slots that were supposed to be like wire passages, but then I just drilled a hole all the way through this so that my wires could come through. And you can see right here my mill, while I was milling out this battery section here, it just ate into the part and still worked, so I still used it. I mean, that's how the rebels would do it. So again, did a long channel here. This is all hand Dremeled out. Oh, focus. Come on. There you go. So this is all just hand Dremeled out to allow room for my wires, because it was an afterthought, surprisingly enough. When I was putting this together, I didn't really plan the wire passages, so I mean, I didn't want to go back to my mill. To my father-in-law's to use the mill, so I just used my Dremel. And it's ugly, but it works. I'll replace it later. We'll edit it in post. This is a little milled slot. I did think to put a rice port in here, which of course now I don't have to, because the Prism version 4, you just pop in a little Bluetooth board and you can do it through your phone. But oh well, I like it. I'm going to keep it because it might be a good place for a recharge port if people want to do that too. And then I can make a different style slot here to hold the regular battery. But anyway, so I'll eventually get a 3D printed version of this chassis made. For now, or I might look at actually having it machined from Delrin, because that might end up actually being pretty cheap too, but it all works, and that's what matters. I can play with this thing. So you've got your two switches for the main and auxiliary. They're just adhered to some 3M double-sided sticky tape, automotive tape, and they're held on there really well. this is actually, the slot was machined too deep because, again, I'm a novice. I'm not in any way, shape, or form a sabersmith. But the 3M tape is pretty thick, so I used a couple pieces because I had to. But I sandwiched my wires from the LED underneath there as well, so it actually provides a bond and it prevents it from moving around, which is a good thing. And then they all just wire through here right in front of the battery, and then down underneath all the way back, and they just wire to the board underneath. There's 2 extra wires for the kill switch, obviously, which cuts power to the board. This basically just runs to the positive here and here. And then the speakers, if I needed to get access to my SD card, I can very, very gently and not Jar Jar like. I can pop out my SD card. Well, you can't see any of that. I need to pay attention to what I'm filming. Anyway, so you can pull out the SD card here and make changes to the colors or the sound fonts. Ooh, gently. I don't know. There we go. You hear it kind of click into place. Oh yeah, I'm sure you saw it, but this was not machined. The hole. This is all just solid rod. So the hole inside where my speaker rests was done by my Dremel and just like my single tiny extra fine little drill bit. It's used for, I don't know. The only thing I can think of it actually like punching through would be like paper. It's such a tiny little drill bit. But I did that by hand. I just cut out this section and then ground it down with other Dremel extensions, just because I didn't know how to do it on a lathe. So anyway, some Dremel foo. But it all works. I'm going to go ahead and put it together and then demo some fonts that I've been working with. So you slide everything back in there. You'll see these switches kind of come into place, and you'll watch this hole. You'll see the kill switch. Now you're lined up. You put your switch plate back on. And tighten this down a little bit. I like to do my pommel before I do the cover tech. Of course, it's just a press fit, so sometimes it's crooked when it goes on, but it's all good. Flaws are what give things character. You just have to be, cool in spite of those flaws. And just put on the copper, real copper, which will weather over time, which is awesome. I love a good patina on copper. Come on. And then just drop in a blade plug. I have Vaders Vault blade plug. I kind of want to, another thing that I plan on doing as an upgrade for this saber down the line is put in my crystal chamber. Now, of course, you've seen the chassis. I mean, it basically goes from like here to here, so there's no place for a crystal chamber. It's all taken up. So what I'm going to do instead is put it in the emitter. Crystal chamber blade plugs aren't new. It's not original. But on a saber this size, it's really, really handy. I mean, it's a great way to show it off. And then, of course, you can be like, oh, hey, look, here is the crystal for my saber. And you can show it off just all by itself. And they are their own little, like, art form. And I haven't really gotten into it yet, but... so I eventually do plan on doing that. I'm going to chop this because I love the Starbird. And I love what Alan and Deanna did with these Vaders Vault blade plugs. I think that they're really, really great. So I'm just going to chop it so I can keep this part. And then, you know, maybe insert this a little bit into the hilt and have it on a sleeve, although I don't know how that would work because this is all 1 inch. But anyway, I'll figure something out, I'm sure. But do a blade plug crystal chamber on the inside. I'd have to be like this big, extremely, extremely compact, but it'll be cool. Anyway, we'll put in a blade plug. Thanks, Alan and Deanna, for the awesome blade plug. With the saber on. It's my photon font. I changed the power on this one. Obviously, it comes with like 5 of them, but so. I just have the stock colors on here, but it is full RGB. Ooh, green. Yeah, green. Photon font and all. So we'll change the fonts here. Fury. Ooh, Fury. Wonder what that sounds like. Oh. Battery's dying. Anyway, I guess I will leave that for now, since the batteries are going to die because I've been playing with this thing all day because I love it. But I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up. Obligatory YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel and give it a thumbs up so I can start making money off of this. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you later.